From the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, this is Nebraska Farmcast. I'm Ryan Evans. The beef industry is facing a mix of optimism and uncertainty, with strong prices giving way to questions about supply, demand regulation, and long-term sustainability. But as the industry navigates these issues, a group of students here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln is stepping up to study them closely. On this episode, I'm glad to be joined again by Professors Brad Lubben and Elliott Dennis, both from the Department of Agricultural Economics here at Nebraska, to talk about the latest policy report column in Nebraska Farmer magazine, which not only outlines key challenges in the beef sector, but also highlights the work of the Krutsinger Beef Industry Scholars, a unique program developing the next generation of policy-minded leaders in agriculture. Brad, Elliott, thanks for joining me again.
Good to be with you.
Brad, can you just start by telling us a little bit about the Krutsinger Beef Industry Scholars program, what it is, who participates in it, and what makes it such a unique experience for both students and the beef industry?
Yes, it's a great opportunity that students have here at UNL's College of Ag Sciences and Natural Resources. All of the students in the college are eligible to participate in this program, which is effectively a leadership development cohort-based learning opportunity. Students enroll as freshmen and start participating in programs and work towards a minor in multiple facets of the beef industry, from production and management to marketing and communications and ultimately policy in their senior course. It's going on 20 years of work here and has produced a number of alums that are now, growing into leadership roles throughout the industry throughout their career.
I know earlier this year in February, both you, Brad, and Elliott took this year's Beef Industry Scholar students to the annual Cattle Industry Convention in San Antonio, I believe it was.
That's
and
right.
So you came back to campus, the students were ready to dive into policy analysis. So what kinds of policy issues are they exploring, and why are those topics important now?
Well, you're right. We started the semester with, the highlight. We have a great trip, a great opportunity for students to participate in the Cattle Industry Convention. It exposes them to thousands of professionals from across the industry, both in terms of educational opportunities, policy committee and checkoff committee discussions, and trade show and other business opportunities that they might find there. But fundamentally, we got to see the breadth of issues that are addressed in the beef industry, and also the policy process in an organization that builds up policy recommendations in a grassroots format of member-driven discussions and development. Students bring home that experience, and they bring home that readiness to study issues that matter in the beef industry. In this particular semester, we're focusing on some issues where we have both economic and policy insights to address and to apply to the issues of concern. We have issues relating to risk management and the beef producers' use of risk management tools. We have issues relating to animal health and traceability amid some animal disease issues and some ongoing questions about how traceability and other monitoring and prevention programs might work. We have issues of cattle marketing and price discovery that have been with us for quite some time, but are still significant issues in the industry, and issues of sustainability, bigger questions of where beef fits in the sustainability landscape and how the beef industry can prepare itself to be viable going into the future.
And in the risk management realm, one of the issues that scholars are studying is livestock risk protection. Elliott, can you walk us through how LRP works, what students are learning about it in today's cattle markets?
Yeah, so as Brad mentioned, one of those issues that's been kind of creeping up over the last several years has been livestock risk protection. And really what we're talking about there is to look at a policy issue that's facing livestock risk protection and then have students analyze it. So on all these issues, it's not just talking about the tool and helping them understand the tool, but what is the policy relevance of that tool? So we'll go through a little bit on, how subsidies are made and why we have, basically government intervention in the cattle market policies. And essentially LRP is a minimum price that cattle producers receive. And then over the last several years, its use has gone up dramatically. Some of that's due to the subsidies. Some of it's just the way the contracts are specified now. Some of it has to do with education, just people getting more aware of it. But one of the things that's kind of come up has been this idea of subsidy harvesting, which is basically taking a subsidized, insurance product and then buying or selling one in the basically commercial market. So we'll talk about that and just how those interacts work and how do we analyze issues. They hear a lot of, farm chatter and they hear stuff in their communities. And so it's not necessarily about saying which one's right and which one's wrong, but trying to help them think through a policy issue and see, if I were sitting in a future convention discussion, how would I approach this in a very objective manner that I can see both sides of the issue. And so in all these, we're trying to figure out what's the issue, how do we analyze this from an economic framework, and I think LRP is just one that's just kind of repeatedly come up that students have been interested in, so we address it.
And animal health and traceability is another major issue that's highlighted in the column. So, Brad, how are the students approaching the topic, especially given recent concerns around disease outbreaks and identification systems?
First off, it's worth noting animal health and traceability issues have been around a long time. We continually have an animal health focus on managing the herd, managing the animals and protecting them from disease and other concerns. We have traceability questions that have been with us for 20 years or more, with questions about how to protect the nation's herd from animal health disease issues, or how to help maintain protections in the industry that might help protect markets and opportunities. So the issues have been around a long time. With recent headlines of the high-path avian influenza outbreak that transmitted not just across the nation's poultry operations, but also has shown up at least in dairy operations, and concerns about animal health and human health. Those are issues that the beef industry has to be ready for. It's in the dairy sector, so we know it's there and it potentially could impact it. The question is, how does the industry prepare for it? Well, what kinds of alternatives do you consider to manage animal disease? What kinds of traceability programs might be necessary to help facilitate animal health management and oversight? We have traceability rules in place at the national level, but only affect interstate commerce. And so there's broader questions of where traceability fits and what kinds of technology and what kinds of alternatives are there. Producers really have a number of issues to face, and the students are examining those issues and thinking about the alternatives.
Yeah, and sustainability, another one of those issues, and Elliott and longstanding USDA programs have supported sustainability and conservation efforts. So how is the Beef Scholars program helping students to understand sustainability and the best management practices around it?
Yeah, so the way that we generally approach this is we talk about beef as the commodity, cattle as the input to produce beef. And so kind of helping students think through what does sustainability mean for them as an operation, but then also what is sustainability meaning for consumers that are buying the beef products, not only domestically, but internationally. Recognize that those valuations are what they consumers believe have the ability to kind of bleed down through the supply chain to say, okay, we need to show that we are sustainable in the framework that consumers are viewing us at. And so some of it's just sorting through some of those things that they've heard. Is beef sustainable? In what ways are we sustainable? How do we separate out, financial sustainability and rural community sustainability versus are we using certain products on our operation that people view as non-sustainable? So I think some of it's just helping them think through those, talk about it in terms of what the government is doing in this sustainability realms. There's lots of long-standing USDA programs through NRCS, FSA. And so helping them kind of think through what programs are out there if they want to manage things differently on their operations. And then this year we focused a little bit more on carbon. That's been getting a large discussion. We're doing some stuff here at the University of Nebraska to try to quantify and value carbon. And so just kind of talking a little bit about that, both in the beef industry with methane emissions and in other parts with crop production with reduced nitrogen use. And so it's about kind of trying to put all those topics that they're hearing together, once again, putting it into an economic framework and then talking about the policy implications of doing one thing or the other. and helping them walk through that. It's not, I feel passionate about this. It's how do we explain this? How do we analyze a sustainability issue that tends to be very emotionally charged for both ends, and try to come up with ways that, we can analyze it that they can use moving forward.
Great. And then when it comes to cattle marketing and price discovery, relevant issues for a long time, obviously, how does the Beef Industry Scholars program help students to understand those complexities behind market structure debates and proposed policy solutions?
Yeah. So as Brad mentioned, that these are students that aren't necessarily ag econ students. These are people who are maybe animal scientists. These are people who are on our Angler program, natural resource, biosystems engineering. So we don't take, anything for granted that they all understand, economics or what perfect competition is. And so for some of these students, we're talking through markets and perfect competition, many buyers, many sellers, homogeneous product. And then we talk about something like price discovery or cattle marketing, that maybe there's some implications that maybe the markets aren't perfect. So it's really starting from a really broad base to kind of help people understand this is what a market is, this is how it works, this is what price is, how it's derived, and then how do we deviate from that. And so price discovery is something that is something more recent. I would say probably in the last 5 to 7 years that we've been talking about pretty extensively and trying to come up with solutions. Something like cattle marketing has been changing for 20, 25 years, with negotiated marketing really decreasing as the primary mechanism to sell cattle, and formula or grid pricing really rising to be the most prominent. Obviously, there's differences across region. And so, once again, we're talking from a policy perspective on trying to say, what is that framework? Say, well, why would people shift to formula? Why would they stay negotiated? What is the long-term implications? And then through this is, what is the government's role, if any, to be involved in this? And how do we analyze what role they should be? And so we kind of walk through a lot of those steps. And so for a lot of students, they've heard about these issues. They know some about cattle marketing, and they know a little bit about price discovery. It's putting all those things together. Once again, so when they leave the University of Nebraska, they're prepared to have those types of discussions. And even though they might not know everything of the intricacies of, cattle marketing or price discovery right when they leave, at least they have a framework to analyze policy issues and then have contacts that they can reach out to as problems or as questions arise in their professional career.
Great. And yeah, more going down that road as far as, what the program is and the kind of end result or the end hope for the students participating in it. It obviously seeks to be cultivating leadership and critical thinking around ag policy and other issues. But what impacts do you both hope that the beef industry scholars will have as they move into roles across the industry, or even now in their college careers?
I think as Elliott described there, we're trying to teach them how to think and how to analyze about issues. We're not going to try and pull up a big list of things to memorize. No facts, no acronyms. Okay, we do have some acronyms, but that's the reality. But we're not trying to memorize those things. We're trying to fundamentally help students be prepared to engage in the industry. And as they reflect multiple majors and multiple interests and career paths, they all have some common understanding of issues in the beef industry and opportunities to engage and be part of a productive professional sector. They've had that experience in the classroom of trying to engage in discussion and trying to be a thoughtful contributor to the issue and to the discussion. And that's ultimately what they're going to have the opportunity to do as professionals as well.
Yeah, when I think about leadership, it's not necessarily you're in a leadership role. There's lots of ways that a lot of these students will go out and be leaders in their community, but won't necessarily hold a formal title. If anything, I think one of the primary goals that throughout this class, not necessarily the program at large, is to help them evaluate policy issues regardless of the policy issues that will be. Right now, we talked about 4 policy issues that are current issues. Those may not be the 4 policy issues that they're going to face in 5, 10 years. And so really just providing them a framework to understand the policy issues was, I think, is specific. And when we think about larger, it's helping them develop into leaders, someone who can advocate and someone who can, correctly and succinctly kind of analyze issues and present them to people that are of like mind, and also people who may not quite fully understand what the beef industry does.
Great. What's your message to perhaps high school students or their parents who might be listening and hearing this about the Beef Industry Scholars program?
The Beef Scholars is one of many opportunities that students might have when they come here to the university, but it's a great opportunity for anybody that's engaged in agriculture, and particularly, obviously, engaged in the beef industry. It's a chance to learn some relevant information and an approach to the industry, but it's a chance to also do it as a cohort and learn with a group of peers. And as much as the value of the program itself, there's also value in having that peer group effect and having that network that you can be in touch with throughout your career. There are great opportunities here to learn. There's the content, there's the experience, there's also the group effect, the peer effect, and all of those things really roll here together in the Krutsinger Beef Industry Scholars program.
And if listeners are interested in more information about the Krutsinger Beef Industry Scholars program, you can visit the Department of Animal Science here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Their website is animalscience.unl.edu, or please feel free to get in touch with either of our guests today, Dr. Brad Lubben or Dr. Elliott Dennis from the Department of Ag Economics here at UNL. You can find their contact info on our website for the Center for Ag Profitability at cap.unl.edu. And we've also got a preview of their latest policy report column for Nebraska Farmer magazine. It links to the full column on nebraskafarmer.com, and that will be appearing in Nebraska Farmer's June print issue as well. Brad, Elliott, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Nebraska Farmcast is a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. For the latest research-based information and education resources to manage your farm or ranch operation, visit our website at cap.unl.edu. That's cap.unl.edu.